I find that the people who are most effective, and both effective and efficient, are people who could see through the noise and really get to the signal. Be able to separate yourself outside of the metaphor of the matrix, so that you could have clarity of purpose. And I think one of the things that's really powerful also is just a lot of people, they give away their sovereignty and their power first thing in the morning. Like the first thing in the morning, they'll pick up their phone and they'll check everything, because there's the way it's set up, right? They're getting their dopamine fixes, and it's just really rewiring their brain. So it's training them just to be distracted all the time.
Can I stop you for a second?
Sure.
That was so rad. You give up your sovereignty and your power. That's incredible, dude. What's your morning routine look like? How does one avoid falling into the trap of reaching right for the cell phone and letting the world dictate?
I mean, I think, okay, so I like really managing my first hour of the day and the last hour of the day, because that's where I could control. Like sometimes when you go to the office, things are going to hit you and such like that. But here, when you wake up, instead of reaching for your phone, right? Because first of all, I always keep it. I don't keep the phone actually, and I don't touch my phone the first hour. Because the problem is when you check for your email, for instance, all you're training yourself is just how to respond. You're reacting to everybody else's demands that they have for you, all their requests of the things that they're sending you. And so that's something that I don't want to train my brain to do. I meditate 20 minutes in the morning. I have a full glass of water. I plan my day. I just write down 3 business things that I want to be able to focus on, and then 3 personal things. And that's a win for me. I don't have to go through a checklist of 200 things. If I just do these 3 things, it's a win for me. Even Will Smith, he says, if 2 most important things, just run and read every day. Do something physically and something mentally to be able to keep yourself engaged and active to it.
There's just all kinds of little hacks and manipulations that you can do, but most people are just incredibly blind.
There's so many distractions and there's so many enemies that are out there, and it's literally rewiring our brain. Even social media, the challenge is, with these terms like Facebook depression and everything.
What's that?
This is social media depression, because whereas everyone's looking at their feed and they're comparing their lives to other people, their highlights of other people's lives.
Wow.
And there's actually less life satisfaction, more sadness, depression, and stuff like that, because everyone is comparing themselves to.
Wow, that's a thing.
Posting. And it's a challenge, but more and more time is spent there. But these devices are created to literally jolt you with dopamine, give you these fixes. And also, the other reason why you want to routine your life that's important is because a lot of people nowadays, in addition to the overload and the overwhelm we all feel from the demands, is something called decision fatigue. And decision fatigue is saying that, latest research is saying that you can only make a set amount of good decisions a day. And then after that, you can't. And so people like, even simply, you've heard that Mark Zuckerberg or Tony Hsieh, they wear the same clothes every single day, the same sweatshirt, the same Zappos t-shirts, and you ask them, not the same, they have a whole wardrobe, 20 of them, but the reason why is because they don't want to waste a decision on what should I wear today when they could be working on, the things that they're most excited about.
Do you think there really is a finite number of good decisions that you can make in a day?
Okay, so I do believe that after a certain amount of focused effort, people suffer from mental fatigue, and that's where they make more mistakes. That's where people become shorter with their temper. That's where the people make less than the best decisions ever, just because of fatigue and exhaustion, because they've been so focused doing certain other activities and such.
Do you know Mark Divine?
Yeah.
All right, so he's got this concept of 20x, right? You're capable of 20 times more than you think you are. Yeah, that fascinates me.
I think motivation is key. I think it's the key to life. I think it's the key to learning. I think people feel like that if they can't learn something or remember something, they're not tapped into their motivation, because they don't want to. Like even things like names, let's say they're self-admitting that they're really bad with names, but when it comes down to it, they don't really want to remember the person's name, except for they'll remember the names of the people they're attracted to. They remember the names of the people that could be good for business, because there's inherent motivation. And so, I always tell people, if someone's horrible with names, if there was a suitcase of $100,000 cash, if you just remember the name of the next stranger you meet, you're going to remember that person's name. All of a sudden, the person's a memory expert, but they didn't use any technique. So it had nothing to do with their capacity or their potential, and it had everything to do whether or not they wanted to or not. And I really do believe that reasons reap results. That's the thing, that if you have enough reasons, you'll get the results. And I think that's one of the keys to learning faster and remembering more.
What motivates you, just in general?
One of my very first students, she was a freshman, I was tutoring her, she read 30 books in 30 days, and I found out her motivation was her mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer and was given 60 days to live, and the books she was reading were books to save her mom's life. So for me, it's not about making $1, it's about making a difference. Like, I don't really get excited about $1 billion, but 1 billion brains coming online and unleashing their superpowers. And think about the kind of world we live in if we could raise the collective intelligence of the planet. Where are the Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos that are just around, out that could just do amazing things out there?
Tell people what you think about questions.
I really do believe questions are the answer. I mean, if people have the experience of wanting to change their life, I would start not only with their body, but also the questions that they ask themselves. I believe that ask a new question, you get a new answer. And I think that all the value in the world started at that place. Someone asked a new question about, in business or in a relationship or in the world about putting a person on the moon. And brand new question, and all of a sudden we have brand new answers. And I think that the people that we admire in business that do, like Peter Thiel, or people like going from 0 to 1, they ask a different quality of question and they get a different quality of answer. I think people that read a page in a book get to the end and just forget what they just read, which we are all guilty of. You go back and you reread it and you still don't know what you just read. I think a lot of those people, they're not clear about their outcome of why they read what they're reading. So they're not getting answers. But when your brain is like a magnet, and it'll just start getting answer, because you have part of that brain, they call it the reticular activating system, that determines your focus. Like years ago, I remember my sister would send me emails and postcards with this little pug dog, with the smushed-in face. And I was like, why is she doing that? And then I realized that, it was her birthday coming up and stuff like that. But I just started seeing these pugs in Whole Foods, and I'm jogging in my neighborhood. I see a guy like walking 6 pug dogs and everything, and all of a sudden they started appearing everywhere. And where were they before? They were there, right? But we never paid attention to it because there's billions of stimuli any moment that's hitting us, and primarily your brain is a deletion device. It would go stark mad if it just paid attention to everything that was going on. You would go insane. And so primarily you're trying to filter out stuff, and people filter based around their beliefs, their identity, their self-worth, their values, and everything. Same thing when you're learning. That's why writing your goals and having energizing them with emotion is important, because you start seeing answers everywhere. You start seeing opportunity everywhere that's aligned with that goal that you have. And so same thing when you're reading. When you're looking for answers, all of a sudden in your reading, you're like, oh, there's an answer, there's an answer, there's an answer. And it acts like a magnet and just pulls it in. And you learn best by pulling information in, not pushing it in. That's not how the brain works. It works through not consumption, it works based on creation. Getting involved, rolling up your sleeves. Because here's the other tweetable, is learning is not a spectator sport. Learning is not a spectator sport. It's just like working out. And people see people who read an immense amount of information, right? Or they see people who are just really good with their mind solving problems. And they're like, oh, that person could do it because they're really smart. That doesn't make any sense to me, because that'd be equivalent of me looking at someone at the gym, someone's bench pressing all this weight. They're like, oh, that person could do it because they're really strong. It's like, no, they're really strong because that's what they're doing. Right? They're doing that on a regular basis. That's why they're showing those kind of results. Same thing with your brain. Your brain acts like a muscle. Obviously it's an organ, but it's like a muscle. It grows stronger with use, but it's use it or lose it. And so many of us are outsourcing our brains to our smart devices. So it's keeping your memory, keeping all this stuff. And so they call it digital dementia. How everyone's all forgetful and absent-minded, senior moments coming a little bit early, they can't remember simple things conversations, everything. It's because they're training their brain to have everyone else think about it, keep your schedule, all that stuff. So we live in an interesting world of overwhelm and anxiety, and people are still, they're so stressed, their amygdala is so under fire all the time, they're reacting as if a saber-toothed tiger is coming at them. When you're taking time for like white space to be creative, to be able to go for a walk, that's where you're going to create a lot of the innovations. That white space is very important.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
What's your definition of a life well lived?
A life well lived. Well, for me, I always focus on. I always wish people their lives be full of lots of love, lots of laughter, and always lots of learning. I really do believe the two things that fulfill me the most, because I think it's an individual thing. I think it's growth and giving. I call them grow givers. You know, where a lot of people they're go-getters. They're just trying to take and take and take, but then they could give stuff out, but then they become a martyr because they have nothing else to give. But I think when we grow, so we have more to contribute to other people, and I think that you know, leaving the planet a little bit better, you know, someone's life, you know, a little bit better just because you were in it. I think that's a life worth lived.
Awesome. I love it, Jim. Thank you so much for being on the show,
Thank
man.
you.
That was absolutely incredible. I love it.